Welcome back to Black Bear Forge. You've asked to see more of the coal forge and you've asked to see more forge welding. So let's head over to the coal forge today and take some fairly basic materials and see if we can make a door knocker. Now this will be a ring door knocker, so I'm going to start with a piece of 5/8 round bar that somebody brought me the other day. And this is just the length it happened to be, and I'm just going to use it the way it is. It's 18 inches long, 465 millimeters. And that's, what, 16, 17 millimeter diameter. And we're going to take a piece of 1/2 inch square bar, 13 millimeter square bar. This is 3 3/4 inches long and is a little over 90 millimeters long. The key here is that measured along the center line, it should be 3.14 times the diameter of this bar. So I did my math, I measured this, I added 1/4 inch on each side, or 1/2 inch one time, and that should wrap all the way around this, and that will make a little ball right in the center of this if we do everything right. And because I'm going to make this a relatively rustic door knocker, or even a door pull, this could be used as a handle to pull a door open, it's going to mount with a simple staple system. If you're putting this on a more modern door and you're trying not to go all the way through the door, you might need to design something that's got a back plate that can take some screws. But this is a style that you see quite often in older buildings. They're just put in with a staple. It's oftentimes clinched over on the back side. Works just fine. But the first thing we've got to do is light the coal forge, so I'm going to go do that. I'll meet you over there in just a minute. I'm going to start this by putting a bit of an upset in the middle of the bar. So of course it's going to buckle the bar. This is so when we forge weld, the extra mass we get here will allow us to forge it back to the original size instead of forging a neck in it when we wrap the collar around it. Some controlled cooling of the bar helps. So we're an upsetting block on your anvil, so you can work on it down on the upsetting block. Really comes in handy. This anvil does not have an upsetting block. I've seen plenty of collar welds done without the upset, so it's not absolutely required, but it certainly helps. So while that heats, we'll start our bar for the collar. I'm just going to put a little bevel on the end of this. It's not really a scarf because I'm actually going to try and butt weld this. I just want this to be able to come together cleanly when I wrap it around. That's really all I need to do. You can scarf these if you want to. I think that's going to be big enough around. So we'll finish shaping our collar, then we'll get back to this piece. Well, I think audio issues are going to be the death of me at some point. It looks like the microphone has come unclipped and is hanging down by my feet right now, so the sound for this section is absolutely awful. I'm just bending the part that will become the ball around the bar, get it bent to shape, working in a swedge block here. This is just whatever technique works best for you. The swedge block would be better off on its usual stand, but I put it up on the anvil to get a better view for the camera. So it's a little slippy. Just don't drop it on your foot. We're near a welding heat here, just trying to bring this right down to final size in preparation for welding. Make sure it's where you want it. And just a little bit of flux. Rotate it in the fire as it comes up to welding heat. You want it to heat evenly and bring it up slowly so it heats that inner bar, not just the collar material. Light, rapid blows to get it welded. I'm going to start beveling this edge a little bit, because in the long run this is supposed to be a ball, not just a big collar. I'm going to work it in the smaller swedge and really work the edge of this down. I'm going to have to turn it around at some point. And also work it at the edge of the anvil. I think we'll turn that around so I can work the other side some. In an ideal world, you would have a special top and bottom swedge that not only forms the round bar that's the main part of the door knocker, but also shapes that ball. But I don't have one of those, at least not right now. Maybe that's a good video for the future. So we're just going to do all of this by hand at the anvil, and we should end up with some pretty good results. I'm going to keep going back to welding heat just to make it easier to work. And if there's any refinement of the weld necessary, then it's being refined at the same time. You can see that's starting to look ball-like. In hindsight, I think 3/8 bar might have been plenty for this. This is going to be an impressive element. But I don't even see our original seam where the two ends came together, so that butt welded up very nicely. I'll flip that end for end one more time, and then we'll turn it into a ring. A lot of radiant heat coming off of that. I'm going to need a glove on my hammer hand here. I'm just moving it around so I can round that up freehand as best as I can. And hopefully that starts to look like a round ball in the middle of the bar. So the next thing to do with this, use a stiffer brush, Now anyways, the next thing to do is going to be put a scarf on the end so we can get ready to start bending this. I'm going to upset that back a little bit, give it a nice bevel. That's generally the shape we want for our scarf. We want the mirror image of that on the other end. But first we're going to start to bend this while this end's hot. Let's go over the horn. You can do this in bending forks, and we may straighten it up in bending forks before we're all done. As far as forging rings go, having that ball right there in the middle is going to make this more difficult because we can't put that part over anything to forge it. Now if you have a cone mandrel with a big tong slot, it might fit in the tong slot. But I don't have a big cone mandrel with a slot, and this little mandrel, the slot is too small, so we can't do that. But it might be an option if you've got it. So we'll just fuss with it as much as we need to get it looking perfectly round. And it doesn't have to be perfect yet. But that's a good start. Now we'll do the opposite scarf on the other end. Upset back a little bit, put a bevel on it. Start our scarf, and we'll start bending. The main thing I'm concerned about at this point is just getting those scars to line up properly, so that we can weld it. And then we'll worry about making it perfectly round. But before we go on to another weld, I'm going to clean the fire out. Clinkers don't do anything to contribute heat to the fire. They rob the fire of heat. They don't burn. And the coal I have really makes clinker. I'm going to put just a little bit of flux down inside the scarf joint there. Doesn't need a lot. Just trying to get these scarves to lay down nicely and blend. This has been a little bit overheated in the process, so it's going to be a little bit rough. If you want an oval door knocker, this is pretty good. Now it's just a matter of trying to round that up there. And I think first I'm going to go ahead and try and heat the whole thing and get it closer to perfectly ring shaped. And it'll be a little easier to work on that. Now this is a place where the gas forge would be wonderful because it would get this whole thing up to heat at one time. And an even heat, so it would bend nicely. But we're getting closer to looking like a round ring. This is still kind of square there, needs a little bit of work. The weld is still the thickest spot, so it is not rounding up as evenly, so I have to keep working it down till it's as thin as the rest. And this one side here is a little overly thinned because it got burned in the welding heat because I got it too hot. I think it'll be savable, but it won't be the best example. I'm just thinning that weld area now. I don't want it any thinner than the rest of that, but I want it to be the same diameter as the part right next to it, so it all looks like it goes together. Even starting to round up pretty nicely. Needs some work in there though. This is another one of those things I think you can fiddle with till the cows come home. Since I don't have any cows, they're never coming home. So I think I'm going to call this good. As the famous Roy Underhill once said, you get the idea. So let's make the staple that holds this to the door. This is just really a matter of drawing out a nice long skinny point to be able to put through the door and then clinch over. Of course, I got to do that on both ends. Isolate your heat right in the middle. Just bend the staple. This is just up to how big the door is. If you've got a really thick door, you need a bigger staple. If you've got a really skinny door, you need a thinner staple. Even these up a little bit and make sure it really fits over the door knocker, which it does. And it will pivot nicely. I hope you can find time in your day to get out to your shop, but be safe, wear your safety glasses, and we'll see you for the next one. Take 420. Right. And that's not a weld. Take 421. It is, if anything, a little bit too hot. The sparking heat really isn't necessary. And that weld just came apart. Take 423. I think I'll plan to take a closer look at this project in a future video and explore some more options with this concept.